All right, and we're back on the Press Box podcast. This will be episode number 118 of our show. And today we're going to talk about exclusively NFL preseason and kind of all that goes on with that. Preseason has started. We had the Hall of Fame game, and then the official week one slate of games just concluded this past weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about what we saw there, as well as just some overarching themes about the NFL preseason. Should players play? Should they not play? From both perspectives, from the coach's perspective, the player's perspective, talk a little bit about, what the fans are looking forward to, going to preseason games. It's a good discussion about NFL preseason football, which we know you'll like as the season's approaching. So before we get into the episode, as always, follow us on Twitter at PressBoxPod. Check us out on YouTube. Got a lot of good clips there as well, just kind of highlighting some of the things we talk about on the podcast. Like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff on Apple iTunes. We love hearing from you guys. And without further ado, episode 118 of the Press Box Podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'll be joined by my other co-host, Joseph Miranda, and our producer, Nathan Miranda, shortly. This is episode number 118 of the Press Box Podcast. And as I said last week, we're hitting the sweet spot of sports right now. The NFL has kicked off their preseason schedule. Baseball is hitting the home stretch. We've got golf hitting their home stretch. And fairly soon, we'll have the NBA and the NHL starting up again. But obviously, college football and NFL football are the two biggies that are kicking off now. The NFL had their first week of preseason just concluded this past Saturday night. We're going to talk a little bit about some of that. Then, of course, college football is getting ready to start here probably in about, 2 weeks or so. We'll have college football. The first preseason Associated Press poll has come out in college football. So we're getting to the point now where football, the king of sports, is beginning to get started. So, guys, let's start to talk a little bit about preseason, and let's preface this by saying that obviously what happens in preseason doesn't really give us a very good picture of how good or not good these teams are. I mean, I watched a little bit of the Giants game last Thursday night. I watched a little bit of another game where none of the starters even saw the field that night, let alone one series. So preseason is pretty much a time for teams, especially the good teams, to really just kind of see what they've got with some of their draft choices, some of their free agents, who's going to make the team, who's not going to make the team, and winning and losing kind of takes a backseat to player evaluation. And some of the poorer teams who are not sure who their quarterback's going to be or who their wide receivers are going to be, you'll see a little bit more of guys that might eventually be frontline guys, but still you're not going to see them very long. So, Joseph, I guess I'll start with you. I mean, kind of give me your impression of what you saw or didn't see this weekend, and what your thoughts of the first week of the preseason were.
Yeah, the thing I always think about is kind of what you talked about there is, like, obviously some teams have to play guys like the Panthers. They basically played Mayfield and Darnold each a half or almost.
Right.
You have to figure out who your starter is. But, like, if you're an established starter, like, does it benefit you to play at all during the preseason? Or, because Aaron Rodgers is not going to play this preseason. They said he hadn't played since 2015 or 16 in the preseason, or something like that. But which is fine. Obviously, it worked for him, and there's some running backs that have done that or will do that. But again, I guess it works for them. But do you think there's any value of going out there for a series and at least putting the pads on against live competition for at least once or twice before the season starts? Or do you think that it's completely overrated? That's the thing I always think about. I'd probably want to go out there and get some reps in.
Right.
But if one of those guys gets hurt it could happen any play, and then it's dumb. So it's kind of a fine line between the teams that have their established guys and the teams that are trying to find starters.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I guess Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess Nathan can kind of give us a good insight of that. He's the one who's played football the most recently. And I remember when he was a senior, you remember Nathan, jamborees and things of that nature. I mean, how much do you play or not play? I mean, I remember your senior year in the jamboree, I think 11 of your starters weren't even dressed for the jamboree. I mean, you ended up playing, which you only ended up playing, I think, one full series or a few minutes. But my point is, again, do you think there's value in that? And I think Joseph brings up a good point. I mean, just to get some pad hitting and against opponents, or do you think it's more dangerous to risk injuries for key guys that are going to be your key players?
I mean, from a coach's perspective, what does he
Both.
do from a player?
Or players.
Players more so. The coach is obviously going to lean towards not playing.
Yeah. I think it's good to get a little bit of game action in before your first game.
I agree.
Yeah. I think I always like to get a little bit of action in.
Right.
But I think there comes a point when you need to get a little bit of the live action because even the scrimmages aren't the same.
Right.
So you need to get a little bit of a live game day action.
Right.
I think, or at least I always like to. So my point of view, I would like to play a little bit.
Right.
But there's no need to play an extended amount of time. I mean,
I'm talking as like maybe a series.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you said, I think if you go out there, I play defense from a defense perspective. If you go out there for one series, and but it also depends what happens in that series too. Like, let's say they first down, let's say they run the ball and he gets stopped at the line of scrimmage with D tackle, makes the tackle. The second down, they throw his pass incomplete. Third down, they throw a pass incomplete. Well, is that really like?
Yeah. Did you get any playing time?
Yeah. I mean, so I look at less from like the number of series and more from like the amount of action you saw.
Right.
Because like if that's your series, I would say I want to go another series.
Right.
I mean, and once you get some good, like you said, some good contact, some good pad hitting in there.
Yeah.
I think you feel good about it, and then you don't play anymore. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think Nathan pretty much hit it on the head, but I think a lot of it depends on the position too, right? I mean,
right.
Like
I was going to say,
for a linebacker, there's always a chance you could get hurt, but more than likely you're used to bodies up against you and you're protecting yourself from a standpoint of your position. But you take a quarterback, something freak could happen, right? He could be dropping back to pass. A young defensive lineman breaks through and gives him a good pop and he gets hurt. I mean, look at the Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson.
Well, he was scrambling. He was running around.
He was scrambling, which is part of the game. And he ended up with luckily for the Jets, just a knee sprain.
We'll see. I know, but I mean, like, he's an example of a guy that I think needs to be playing no matter what. Like,
right.
His second year, you can't really say, oh, like he got injured, like they should have sat him. Like, no, he needs to go out there and play. Like, he's had 1 year that he did like so-so in, and then he needs to like get reps.
Right.
So it's just an injury. That the injuries happen. It's not like one that should have been avoided.
You could that could happen in practice. He could drop back. Where you're gonna never once you sign a guy, you're gonna never let him step on any field unless it's a game day. I mean, so
right. So there's different. Different. Obviously, we mentioned the Panthers where there's an actual QB battle, but even when you have an entrenched starter like Zach Wilson, that's not obviously on the level of Aaron Rodgers, he needs to play in the preseason, right? So that's just it's kind of even Saquon Barkley, I think, needs reps this preseason. Like he's missed a lot of time, and there were, I guess it was ESPN or some channel is of course way like overblowing or like his like dissecting his stat line and like 1 or 2 series, like he had 9 carry or 12 yards. And it was just funny listening to him talk. Like, of course they're going to play out proportion as they always do.
I think there's 2 separate types of players. There's certain players that, regardless of how they feel about getting reps in the preseason or jamboree, like we mentioned from high school, there's certain players I think where they just need to get reps. It doesn't matter how they feel about it.
Right.
And then, at any level.
Right.
And then I think there's other players, especially in the NFL, that you just leave it up to them. Say, do you feel more comfortable getting some reps or
right?
Care. And like Aaron Rodgers, like I don't want to be like, okay, whatever.
Right.
So I think it's up to, but like I said, but I think as a player, I would always say, well, yeah, give me something. Give me at least
right. And that's what we were asking about your opinion as a player.
Yeah, and that's what, like I said, though, for me, it's not. It's more about what happens when you're on the field. Like I said, if you get a series where you don't hardly do anything, which could happen,
right,
then you'd want to go out for another series.
Right.
That's the thing. Kind of, well, not to change the subject too much, but like you hear about pitch counts in baseball. Well, not all pitches are created equal. Like, how many of those are high stress pitches, runners on base, and you're exerting more effort as opposed to like the second inning with nobody on, you just kind of grooving them in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And like, and that's the same thing too. Not well. First, I'll go back and say, but even if from a player's perspective, I think even if they say you're just getting a series like no matter what, or you're just getting X amount of plays no matter what, even if those plays aren't like quality reps, where you're not actually hitting pads with anybody, or you hardly are at all. You know, you don't have a script. Still, I think it helps to. I think you got some benefit from the whole
game atmosphere.
The home game day experience. You waking up in the morning, getting into your routine as if you're going to play, because you are going to play a little bit, even if they weren't quality reps. Going to the stadium, warming up, you know, going through the warm-ups on the field. You have the fans in the stands, especially in the NFL, where it's actually like a lot of fans. And you just go through the whole, you know, opening kickoff. You go through the butterflies in the locker room. You go to the field. You get your action, and then at least you're going through all that. I think that's some benefit, as opposed to just not even dressing out on that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get any of that pregame benefit at all. So I think even if you don't get quality reps, you're getting some benefit from having to play a little bit.
Right.
And again, like in Aaron Rodgers' case, I would think it would be good for him to do it, but he falls in that tier where if he just personally doesn't want to, then fine.
Right.
If he sees no benefit to it, whatever. And he is a quarterback, so I mean well, I was gonna say, like, any position in practice, like you get, you know, they like, I'm sure, I don't know what the NFL is, but I'm sure they have some type of like live contact session in practice,
right?
But so you can even mimic live contact and hitting in practice. I was going to say quarterback can mimic what he does better than another position, but then again, you can mimic live contact too, like, you know, tackle to the ground. Although I doubt the NFL ever really tackles to the ground in practice.
They don't.
So I guess Aaron Rodgers could do everything that he does in a game in practice. On defense, for example, you're not going to be able to do everything you do in practice because, like I said, I doubt they're ever going to let you tackle to the ground.
Well, what about from this angle? Since we've been talking about Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he lost Devontae Adams, who went to the Broncos. He lost, I think the guy's name was Lazard or whatever. So he's lost two top receivers. So is there any value to having him play a series at least or two just to develop that game speed timing with new receivers, or is that something that you think he can work out in practice? You know, he's basically
probably.
Go ahead.
That's probably something you can work out in practice. I'm sure that he's expressed that to the Packers too. Like,
I would hope so. Yeah.
Like,
Go ahead.
Well, I think somebody like Rodgers, who's basically your whole team, like even if he needs to like establish some connections, it's not worth getting him hurt when he could take the first half of week one to establish that. And like,
that's a good point. I mean, look at them; they got blown out by the Saints. Was it last year in week one?
Right.
Didn't really matter.
No, it didn't. Yeah. That's true.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I was going to say something else. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Well, I'll also say that Aaron Rodgers, which you guys said it didn't matter. I mean, he's in, and we'll talk more about this when we get into our NFL preview, but he's in a division that pretty much you can mail it in. I mean, you know, they're going to win that division whether they lose the first two games or not. So let's talk a little bit about the Tom Brady situation. I mean, you know, I kind of maybe have a different take than I've been reading about. Maybe you guys have a different one as well, but you know, we got Tom Brady, all right, arguably the greatest quarterback ever. I say arguably because I'm sorry, I'm not willing to accept that yet, even though I know I'm in the minority.
Well, it's a fact. So, I mean,
no, it doesn't matter. You can call it.
Well, we can get this. I think there's two separate meanings to that. There's greatest technical quarterback at his position, like plays the quarterback position the best. Or
we've talked about this.
That's beside the point. Okay. He takes the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. They win it his first year with them. Last year, they go deep in the playoffs, get beat by the Rams. He retires in the offseason, retired for a month, maybe 2 months, decides to come back. And here we are now, and he is taking a leave of absence for personal reasons. and will not return to the Buccaneers, I think, until this Friday or Saturday. Okay. Obviously, will not play in any preseason games. We've just talked about that. But I guess my point now becomes he just turned 45. Is his heart still in it? I mean, does he really have personal problems at home? I mean, is his wife maybe upset that he changed his mind? My point is, I'm not quite sure that the guy's heart is still in it. And we know about the situation where the Dolphins got fined for tampering with him, and he wanted to go there and be part owner and all this stuff. In my personal opinion, he's starting to become a little bit of a caricature, a little bit of a farce in some of the things that have happened over the last 7-8 months. What do you think?
I don't know. It could be a thing where back when he decided to come back, he told him, like, look, like, come back. I'm not going to do a whole training camp. Like, it's ridiculous. So, like, it's, we're just going to spend it as personal reasons, like for 2 weeks instead of like rest or something. So it could always be just be that. Or it could be an actual like real thing that he has to miss time. I don't know. But, I think that, and I guess we touched on this a little bit too at one point. There's that whole deal with him, the Dolphins, and or like he maybe had thought that if he were he could sign with the Dolphins somehow or whatever, but the Buccaneers basically wouldn't let him. So, I don't know we don't know if he originally retired because he was done with it or he had alternate reasons, but I think he's played long enough to realize that if he's going to come back, his heart needs to be in, and it probably is if he's committed to doing it.
You might have heard something where he had told the Bucs before the training camp that he had a certain amount of time he was going to be away.
I don't have the exact quotes or anything, but I thought I saw on TV where the head coach was at the press conference saying this was like a planned thing, or like he talked to him before camp that like he was going to have to miss time or something. I don't know.
Well, I guess my feeling on the thing is, and again, maybe I'm too old school here, but here's a guy that came over from the Patriots to the Buccaneers. He obviously put that team on his back. He gave the players on that team, they had a pretty good team, but he carried them to another level. He showed them the work ethic that was needed. He showed them the determination that was needed, and he took them to the Super Bowl and they won it. And then last year, all right, they got beat, but still. Well, now I'm wondering, you know how players are. I mean, do you think they look and say, well, geez, does he still have it? Does he still care? Why does he get to take 2-3 weeks off of camp? And I know the answer to that question, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? Could this cause a little bit of a less full go for the Buccaneers? You know what I mean?
No, I don't think any player's thinking that because of his status. Like if this was, like Kirk Cousins or somebody, that wouldn't really fly. But Brady can pretty much do whatever he wants. I mean, he could have told the Buccaneers, "I'll come back starting in week 10,"
right?
And they would have been like, "Oh yeah, great."
Right.
I think he has so much respect amongst the players that, and they know how old he is and all this stuff, and they get it. They just want him to play on Sundays, right? So I mean,
all right.
I don't think that's an issue at all.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think no player wants to be at training camp, really, probably. But they also, like Joe said, I think they view Brady as like just like a I think they're in awe of Brady.
Yeah.
So I don't think and I think that they're just thankful for what he's done for them already. The ones who at least won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They probably are a little like, man, I wish I didn't have to go for 2 weeks. But I don't think it's causing a problem.
Right.
I thought I heard something too, like with the Brady Dolphins. I know that it was the Dolphins who got in trouble for talking with Brady, or
Dolphins.
I thought I heard something like they're still trying to get Brady. There's still talks or something going on, or I don't know. But I don't think that's. It's something. I don't know. But I saw some article about like somebody asked Tua about the possibility of Brady going in there, and he said something like that's all noise or something. Anyways, so I don't know about that, but
hey, just keep doubting Tua.
As far as
we will, don't worry.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen pictures too side by side of people saying that Tua looks like that
the guy from the
guy from Longest Yard. Because they're both
Brucey.
wearing.
Yeah.
What?
The Brucey guy.
He's wearing a jersey at one point that's kind of like aqua color, and they look so.
Yeah.
But as far as Brady's heart in it, I think, like Joe said, I think these great athletes like that, I think if their heart wasn't in it, they wouldn't play. You know what I mean?
You would hope so, yeah. I mean, but I think, well, I agree with that, but I think I don't know. Again, this is my personal opinion. You remember Brady said back, what was it, 5 years ago, or when he was 40, that he wanted to play till he was 45, maybe even 50. I think he's at the point now. I think he's just trying to prove himself right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in other words, I'm going to play till I'm 50, but I'm going to just do what I want to do. Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, I guess I agree with Nathan. I think, I would have had a little more respect for the guy if he would have retired after they won the Super Bowl, because what else can you do after that? You know what I mean?
You think he would close it again though the next year?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I think it's time for Brady just to say, look, I mean, and I don't know. I mean, you never tell a guy he should retire, but if there's any doubt in his mind at all, just retire.
I do think he seems, well, at least he seems like he's able to talk about this more than he was at the Patriots. His other passions and pursuits. But he does seem more interested in other things his last couple of years than he had been. With the Patriots, certainly, like other businesses, ventures. He has like this underwear brand now or something, or clothing brand. Like he seems more interested in some of that stuff now. But I don't think you can say maybe he's taking some of the time away from his preparation that he should be doing. You can maybe say that, but I don't think that correlates to when he's out there, his heart's not in it.
No, I don't disagree.
And I think from the team's perspective, the Buccaneers, even if his heart wasn't in it, who cares?
No, I know.
If he's out there if he's out there and his heart's on it, he's still better than anybody else they have.
I guess.
So I would be like, I don't care. Just as long as you're going to play, like, and try. If your heart's not in it, that's okay. Just play for us.
Yeah.
I think that's the Buccaneers' point of view. And all the other, I don't know.
Well, and then you've got the other big story that's going around now is I guess it's kind of a combination story, but we talked a lot about Deshaun Watson last week, and we're not going to kind of rehash that, but he did play in the first preseason game, did not play very well at all. Obviously he hadn't played since I think it was 2020. He missed the whole of last season. So you wonder, is he rusty? I mean, has he got all this on his mind? And now you've got a situation where we're waiting for the decision from this supposedly second independent arbiter who was appointed by Roger Goodell. More than likely, the guy's going to get. I just have a feeling he's going to get suspended for the entire year. But it doesn't matter. Okay,
the NFL appealed or whatever. Right?
The NFL appealed it. And Goodell named a new arbiter.
He can name his own arbiter.
Yeah, that was part of the bargaining agreement. Yeah, but my point is, now you've got a situation where the Browns have to decide. Are we going to go into this season with Jacoby Brissett as our quarterback for the entire year? And you've also got Jimmy Garoppolo hanging out there in San Francisco. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that the 49ers are not going to play Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they're going to go with this Lance guy. We've heard a lot of kudos about him from different sportscasters. He did have a pretty good outing in the first preseason game. Again, it's all preseason. But the question is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be with the 49ers on September 11th? Or will he be with the Cleveland Browns? Or will he be with some other team?
Good question. I think the phrase I heard or whatever is that the 49ers gave him permission to seek a trade.
Right.
So I guess him and his agent, had they found one, by now they would have traded him. I don't know if.
Yeah, I guess so.
They can't find one that works or what the deal is, but
if I was to be saying, shouldn't you be seeking a trade? You're the team. I'm not.
Right. Yeah. So I mean,
do you want to trade me? If so, seek a trade.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird situation. But I think you're right. If they actually have full trust in this, Trey Lance guy, they should trade him and try to get some stuff for him. He's a starting quarterback somewhere. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Well, I think that he'll. I think that week one he'll be with the 49ers. Say that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's going to be a team out there, I bet you, that trades for him, because we saw what happened to Zach Wilson. Luckily, it wasn't as serious as everybody thought. Everybody thought it might have been an ACL, which I think in that case, I think you'd have seen Garoppolo go to the Jets because he's got his former defensive coordinator that's the head coach of the Jets.
You got Flacco, don't you?
Well, yeah, Joe Flacco's over the hill. He's done.
You got the phone.
The Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, was the 49ers defensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl with Garoppolo. So I think he'd have gone there. And I think the Browns are still in play for him. I really do. I think that if Deshaun Watson, well, of course, it throws a big wrench in the system because obviously Deshaun Watson will be back next year if he gets suspended. But still, do you want to go ahead and tank your season right now before we even started? So I think there's a possibility he could go to the Browns.
Like you said, though, they knew that the Browns knew this. That there's a possibility they would not have to go without Watson. So why did they get him then? They got instead Jacoby Brissett. They must think that they must be okay with it.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, let's be honest about this. I mean, is Jacoby Brissett an upgrade from Baker Mayfield? I don't think he is.
No, but he's not that much worse either. They kind of have the same guy. I don't know.
Well,
but I'm not arguing should they be okay with him. I'm arguing are they actually going to go out and get Garoppolo if they had a chance to do that? I guess at one point in the offseason they did. They got Brissett, so they must be okay with that.
Well, maybe.
Well, the point is that they didn't. They thought all along, I guess, and what's originally happened, Deshaun Watson was only going to get 6 games if he gets the season.
Right.
Maybe they feel like they need Garoppolo. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they're like, we're good with Brissett for 6 games, but now that it's more than 6, we need like a better quarterback. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I think
it could be a situation where teams are like waiting to see. Like, I mean, they kind of like the MLB trade down. Like you buyers or sellers. Like, say somebody like Seattle, who doesn't have a great outlook right now in their season, and maybe they start like 3-3 or 3-4, but the quarterback system's kind of holding them back because they have a battle of Geno Smith and the guy that was Broncos had at one point. Whatever, they're both terrible. So if they realize, hey, maybe we'll get Garoppolo, and this will put us over the edge or help us get to playoffs. So it could be something like that too. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that could very easily happen. I mean, I think you could see. I think you could see that happen very quickly.
Or injuries, obviously.
Yeah.
Is this NFL arbiter? If this new one says a year, do you have to have a tiebreaker? Because one says 6, one says a year, or is this the final say right here?
I don't know. I mean,
it can't be the final say because I would think the Players Association have some grounds to appeal to that, right?
I would think. Yeah.
And then at that point, it becomes okay. That's like the tiebreaker. If they appeal and then they come back within the year again, and that's it. I would say it's 2.
Well,
but then the question. Here's another question.
They're going to pick their own person too. They're all picking their little pals. They're going to give them what they want.
Well, but here's another question. Let's say that and I think I heard that this was a possibility. Let's say the Players Association sues the NFL in this case. All right.
Yeah.
In that case, watch him play.
Yeah.
As
long as they keep extending it, he can play.
Yeah.
So I don't really see him being gone for a whole year. So.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, no, I agree. Just I see this other person Goodell's naming will definitely give him a year, at least.
Oh, okay.
Because I agree with that. Because that's why Goodell picked this person, obviously.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I don't see that like that's the NFL Players Association being like, okay, a year, it's gonna go on. He'll play in the meantime.
Yeah.
So we'll go back.
There've been uproar at all the games he goes to.
Free Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't free Deshaun Watson.
No, they'll be the other way. Like he should be on the field.
Oh yeah, of course it will be. Yeah, of course it will be. So yeah, I mean, lots of little interesting storylines, and of course, injuries are going to play a big part of it as we go through here. You're going to have some more injuries. It's only 2 more preseason games for every team.
Yeah.
And then they'll have a bunch of time off before the season starts.
Here's a question that we can even put this out as a poll question, but why would any fans go to preseason games? Like, I don't know. Like, are the tickets a lot cheaper? Is it like, like why not just wait till the regular season? Because I'm just kind of curious. I don't know.
To drink.
They can do that at home now.
Yeah, but I guess it's more fun to go to stadium with a bunch of other people, get rowdy, and
I guess, yeah.
I think there's a number of reasons. I think that's obviously one of them, but I think 2. I mean, let's face it. Let's say we had an NFL team in our town. I mean, once football comes around, there's always the excitement of football starting again, right? I mean, you're not going to see, you're not going to see the top line. So that's one reason. Second reason is you got a lot of fathers who like to bring their little boys, the boys really little kids, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, they don't really know that it's preseason and they just want to go to an NFL football game. So it's a chance for people like them to get tickets that they couldn't get during the regular season, say.
But they can get them though. Is it like?
Yeah, but they're more. I think they're a little more expensive in the end.
Are they? Maybe they are. I don't know.
It may not be as available unless you want to go on StubHub. I mean, a lot of people don't go on StubHub. They try to get them directly from the team, and they're they're not available.
Or their face value, which is
but they're not available because most people buy them up and sell them on StubHub. Okay, so I think there's a lot of reasons. But
StubHub, if you're listening, we'd love to have you as a sponsor of the podcast. We use you, and you're great.
Yes, we would. Yeah, we exclusively use StubHub. The Press Box Podcast is an exclusive user of StubHub. That's right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to that, and I don't think they're completely sold out either. I mean,
well, I know that. Yeah, I do like the fact that the best thing about this season to me is like, it's like your first opportunity to see football on TV again, right? Like see everything, like the uniforms, the players, like it's back. And then the way they stagger it, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday,
right?
You have a little something every night, right? So it's like, you're not just waiting until just Sunday every week,
right?
Even though Sundays are great, but like you're like, oh, it's Thursday night, Sun's playing, and then like, oh, Friday night, this game's on. It's kind of like a little like potpourri of games for the weekend.
Right.
Well, you would love them to have every NFL game every night of the week. Like
I haven't remember when they moved all these games around, like, hey, Titans Bills on Tuesday night, it's fun. You're like, oh boy.
They even had games on Wednesday night, remember?
Yeah, I remember. The Ravens play the Steelers at like Wednesday at like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Guess what? Then when Sunday rolls around and the Raiders are playing the Broncos, you really that excited because you just saw 5 games.
Yeah, I am. Well, remember that was that Roethlisberger made some comment after the game, like, I guess I have to turn around and play in 4 days again or something.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. And the water's down Sunday, I think.
I don't know. It probably maybe does a little bit. I think that was an anomaly that you're not going to see again. I mean, obviously they're not going to be playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
I mean, Thursday night's all right because I've gotten used to it, but I mean, I wouldn't have hated if they never had Thursday.
Thursday night, I think, was just like a takeoff on Thanksgiving. Like,
right.
It always played the Thanksgiving game. They're like, what if we just did this every week? It's not like they just picked this like a random day and like, let's add a game during the week.
Didn't they start it where like when they first started, they only did the last few weeks of the season or something?
Yeah, they started like week 11 or 12 or something. I remember
now it's every week.
I remember this year Thursday night's going to be on Amazon Prime, so they're kind of going to be limiting their audience a little bit because I doubt there's as many people on Amazon Prime as would watch it as there would be when it was on the regular network. So
Amazon Prime had to probably pay a lot more than regular network.
Probably, which means you're going to get a lot of commercials, which is okay, I guess. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I mean, next week we can start talking about fantasy football, and we've got that coming up. The draft, most drafts of fantasy football will be happening sometime over the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably starting next week through the first week of September, as fantasy leagues begin to kick off, and we're all in that, and we'll be talking about that. And then obviously, as we get into September, once we get through the preseason, we'll have our official 2022 NFL kickoff show where we start talking in depth about each team and their possibilities of getting to the Super Bowl, which for most teams is a pipe dream. So, which again, I mean, it's. I was talking to somebody at work today who was thinking about going to an opening game, and they said they couldn't get the tickets. Were really, really expensive, and I said, well, that's because it's the first game of the season, and every team's fans think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So yeah, they're going to bid up the price of the tickets, and then you get it to week 8 or 9, and start when your team is 1-8. Then the tickets become a little bit more available.
Yeah, people with season tickets probably start selling more of them.
Right.
Once they start losing.
That's right. So anyway, kind of a short show tonight, but that's okay. We wanted to make sure we talk a little football as it's going on, and we want to make sure we get in front of all of our listeners. Remember, we appreciate all of you who are listening. Hit us up on Twitter at PressBoxPod. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram at PressBoxPod. and also the Press Box Podcast channel on YouTube. Lots of great shows coming up, lots of good stuff to be talking about, and we hope that we'll see you all then. Let us know what you think. Let us know your ideas on some of these topics. We'd love to hear from you, and make sure you stay tuned because we got our big shows coming up. And that'll do it for the Press Box Podcast for tonight, and we'll see you next time.